discipline. Because of shipping costs, food is being priced out of the reach of millions of Americans with an expected 35% jump in the next 60 days. Move quickly while you can still afford it, and eFoods Direct will pay your shipping costs for you. For the best tasting, long-term storable food, you pay nothing for shipping and can put every dollar into food at today's prices. eFoods Direct, food so delicious you can serve it tonight or save it for the future. Take advantage of free shipping by calling 800-409-5633. On the web, efoodsdirect.com/Alex, 800-409-5633, or efoodsdirect.com/Alex.
A very wealthy U.S. citizen is predicting that in 2011, we will witness the most important day in America in more than 50 years. He says it will change everything about our lives. The way you shop, travel, invest, educate your children, and even how you take care of your health and your own family. Now, this man has made some outrageous predictions over the years. The crazy part is, he's usually right. You see, he predicted the collapse of GM, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and America's biggest mall owner, General Growth Properties. In fact, Barron's called his work a dire prophecy. Recently, he created a video, which you can watch online for free, detailing his biggest and most important prediction yet. And it's a real eye-opener. I can't stress this enough. You should at least watch this free video online today. He explains everything you need to know, including simple steps you can take to protect yourself. You can find the video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica, the number 3.com. Watch the free video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica3.com.
I would stand in line for this. There's always room in life for this. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. It fell apart. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Then it fell apart. It fell apart. Oh, baby.
Okay, here are the headlines at prisonplanet.com and infowars.com just out. Cover-up of Fukushima chain reaction underway. Now, how bad that chain reaction of it causing the other plants to explode, we don't know. But even Haaretz, Associated Press, ABC News are saying the Japanese have a history of covering up disasters, as other governments do, and that they've been caught involved in deception. Saturday, the Japanese news, the government did admit, headline, meltdown caused nuke plant explosion. Government Safety Board of Japan, Nuclear and Industrial Safety, NISA, said hours and hours after they denied there was some type of meltdown. The question is, how intense of a meltdown was that? Gerald Celente riding shotgun with us 30 minutes to the next hour. Dr. Bob Bowman will be joining us for a full hour tomorrow, but he's only popping in today. We're also getting Dr. Doug Rockey, also a nuclear physicist, on with us tomorrow. But Dr. Bob Bowman, former director of Advanced Space Program Development for U.S. Air Force in the Ford Carter administrations, and a former United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, 101 combat missions over Vietnam. He holds a Ph.D. in aeronautics and nuclear engineering from the California Institute of Technology. And talking to him, he said that he certainly hopes that there hasn't been a full meltdown or any of that uranium getting out. Plant number 3 at the 6-plant complex facility did have a MOX fuel system, 7% plutonium, Mark I system designed by General Electric, 93% uranium. And according to the physicists we're reading in the press, they say this is one of the most dangerous types. Uranium causes a lot of health problems, obviously. Plutonium's a whole other ballgame. Break down, sir, as a nuclear physicist, what you see happening here. Obviously, we don't want to create panic, but the Finns and others are buying iodine off the shelves as a precaution with the prevailing winds from Japan to the West Coast. Should people be taking or getting advice from their medical professionals on potassium iodate?
Oh, I think it's a reasonable precaution to take. We know that there's been melting fuel rods. We do not know if it has gotten to the point where it has melted through the containment building floor. That is a full meltdown, what used to be called the China syndrome. That kind of thing will, of course, cause an enormous release of radiation. In essence, we'd be facing another Chernobyl. 3 of my degrees are in nuclear engineering, and I've been studying this thing. And the Japanese, like any government, will cover up things if they think it's in their best interest to do so. But so far, the full meltdown hasn't happened, and it may not. We may dodge the bullet, but if it does happen, there is going to be a significant radiation cloud coming across to the mainland United States.
Dr. Bowman, we're showing on screen for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers footage from Japan of Fukushima 3 blowing up, shooting several thousand feet in the air. First, you see the containment dome explode. Then you see in seconds, thousands of feet, giant pieces of black equipment. It looks like a black box hurtling through the air. We had an individual call in earlier who worked on nuclear submarines, and he said that it did look like the hydrogen explosion at first, the white flash and the fire, but he says the mushroom cloud and the equipment being ejected thousands of feet in the air looked to him like something more than hydrogen. Doctor, there could probably be nobody else with more knowledge on this that we could get on than you. Have you seen Fukushima 3 blow?
I've seen some of it. I haven't seen it all, and I'm sure we'll see more. But that does not mean that there was a nuclear explosion. It still could have been an explosion of the gases in the containment building, and but of course if the containment building itself is gone, then you've got a serious problem, because the melting fuel rods, that radiation is going to escape.
Well, let me throw this out. We're showing footage of the 1986, the first helicopter footage after Chernobyl had exploded. It is a tiny hole in the roof and a damaged area compared to Fukushima 1 or 3. And they're not showing us any images up close, but from the explosion, and you may be handicapped and not of seeing Fukushima 3. Fukushima 3 is a giant mushroom cloud shooting, from what I see, about 3,000 feet in the air in seconds, and ejecting giant pieces of black machinery out of the top of the mushroom cloud. Now, the one on Saturday, it is the containment facility. You can see it blown. It doesn't go more than about 800 feet or so in the air. This, sir, is a brown-black mushroom cloud.
Yeah, well, it's... I don't know whether, we're looking at full meltdown now. There's no question we're looking at the release of radiation, and that's why they're getting the Ronald Reagan out of there as fast as they can to not be right downwind of it.
Yeah, that's not a good sign, is it, that the fleet is hauling tail?
No, it isn't, but by God, I think they ought to be court-martialed if they weren't.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to be passing through Austin on the 30th of April, and hopefully we're still all alive and functioning.
Well, you're welcome here, Doctor, in studio, and you're back on tomorrow. But Doctor, and Gerald Celente of the Trends Forecaster may have some questions for you. But instead of me throwing questions out here, if the MOX fuel reactor, of course, you're familiar with the Mark I General Electric system. Yep. According to my research, this is about the worst type of plant to go up, and they're reporting it'll make Chernobyl, that had 400 times the Hiroshima radiation, according to the Atomic Energy Agency, released. If the MOX I plutonium-driven system has melted down, sir, fully, what are we looking at in terms of fallout?
Well, you're looking at probably several Chernobyls, and that, of course, will be disastrous. Fortunately, an awful lot of that will come down in the Pacific Ocean, which isn't good for the Pacific Ocean, but it's better than if it was blowing the other way and come down in China or Korea and all of that. So it's a nasty situation indeed. And by the way, we have a number of those kind of reactors here in the United States, including, I think, Vermont Yankee, that the state of Vermont wants to shut down, and the federal government won't let them.
Yeah, there's 23 Mark 1s. Yes, sir, you're right.
Yeah.
Dr. Bowman, looking at this situation, they're reporting that 3 more plants are in meltdown outside of the Fukushima 6 reactor system. Watching these 2 devastating explosions in the last 48 hours, just as a layman, wouldn't that hamper the emergency crews that the U.S. government has said is a desperation move, pumping seawater into the other 4 reactors that have not had explosions?
Well, it could. It depends on where they have to be physically located in order to pump that seawater in. If they're to the west of the buildings, then yeah, that could indeed be a problem. We're fortunate that 3 of the 6 were shut down for maintenance when the earthquake hit.
And so they wouldn't be able to melt down then?
No.
Let me expand on that, sir, because I don't know. I believe
there's still nuclear material in there that ordinary explosions and whatnot from the others, I mean, could release. But those 3 melting down would only happen if the plant was in operation.
Well, that's wonderful news. Sir, looking at, and again, you've probably only, from what you say, seen Fukushima 1 blow up on Saturday. This was roughly 10 times the size and the height, and it was an instant mushroom cloud, now smoking, black smoke pouring out. It looks like a war zone on the news. But let us just ask you, what are the different scenarios for a total meltdown, and what would the explosion from a total meltdown look like? Because we're watching a giant black-brown mushroom cloud shooting 3,000 to 4,000 feet in the air in 3 seconds.
Well, the mushroom cloud and the meltdown don't necessarily have anything to do with one another.
Yes.
If a total meltdown happens, you might not see anything from the exterior. What it would mean would be that the molten nuclear material would go down through the floor of the containment building, and the radiation would escape into the environment, and but it would be, for the most part, invisible. The mushroom cloud is bad news because it could mean that we've lost containment, and then the melting fuel rods present, a real problem, the release of their radiation. But the release of radiation will probably come significantly after the mushroom cloud event.
Is that while it cooks in the seawater and other chemicals and things that are in there?
Yeah, now if they get enough seawater in there, it may halt the meltdown process with or without containment. But if they can't do that for one reason or another, and those rods are exposed, then it'll continue to melt down.
And, sir, if it continues to melt down, what are the different scenarios?
Well, I don't know what you mean by scenario, but it depends on which way the wind's blowing.
Well, it's blowing to the northeast, but I mean to understand this, what I'm saying is, I'm led to believe there's different scenarios of severity of the type of critical meltdown that there could be.
Yeah, well, what I'm thinking of is a complete meltdown where all the